Pilipinas bilang isang bansang sagana sa
Dahil
agrikultura.
laganap pa rin ang gutom sa bansa. Natatakot ang Department of Agrarian Reform sa posibleng food shortage kung magpatuloy ito.
No way to earn a living to feed.
Bitin kapag walang-wala na sa budget.
The province is expecting to lose at least half its crops.
Good day everyone. So today we will be talking about agrarian reform. So before let's talk about land reform. Ano ang land reform? Land reform is an integrated set of measures designed to eliminate obstacles to economic and social development arising out of defects in agrarian structure. So, land reform nag-focus na siya sa specifically nag-focus na siya sa land ownership. Land ownership lang na siya nag-focus. So, ani nga program nga i-create ni siya to end the unfair land ownership sa land ownership. Karon is nag-provide naman gyud siya og documentation to its rightful owners. Like for example, ako nakapalit ko yuta 100 square meters. So pag pagpalit ako sa yuta is tagan ko sa deed of sale. So pagkakano ko sa deed of sale, i-process na ko ang title niya nga ma-transfer sa akong ngalan. Aron matawagin siya nga ako mao na siya ang land reform. Nag-focus siya more sa land ownership kay kung dili magud nimo siya kanan og title or wala ang land reform, magnilugay na karon kay ako ning yuta, dili ako ning yuta, mo nang kinahanglan jud siya titulo para matawag siya nga imuha kay nakatitulo tanawa ko titulo ako ang ngalan, asa man nimo ngalan diara, mo na siya ang titulo. As kung gani karon panahon na bisag na titulo nag-inilugay pa. So para ma-end na bitaw ang unfair land ownership mo nang gibuhat ni siya nga program kaning land reform. So let's talk about agrarian reform na pod. So what is agrarian reform? So ang agrarian reform is a redistribution of lands regardless of crops or fruits produced to farmers and regular farm workers who are landless, irrespective of tenure agreement to include the totality of factors and support services designed to lift the economic status of the beneficiaries. So, sa land reform, diba yuta? So, the proper documentation sa yuta, focus siya sa land ownership. So, sa agrarian reform, dili lang siya land ownership. Sa agrarian reform, gusto niya buo ang system sa agriculture. So, nani siya sa Republic Act 6657 nga giproclaim ni former President Corazon Aquino. So, ana sa agrarian reform dapat kung buo, dili lang land reform, kundi dili lang siya sa yuta, kundi dapat ang mga magsasaka kay maangat ang kinabuhi. Dili lang dapat din silang kumita ng pera. So, dapat nindot ang relasyon sa landlord o sa tagya o sa mga tenants or the farmers. So, diba dapat matagan din sila og nindot nga kinabuhi, matagan din sila og opportunity nga magkaroon pagkakakitaan sa pamamagitan ng pagsasaka. So, ibig sabihin yung raw materials din na sinasaka ng mga magsasaka is magkaroon din sila ng kita dito. In short, dapat sila makinabang sa ilang ipantanom. Kay dili focus ikaw ang tagiya sa yuta nga ilang gitamnan imuhan ra na. Syempre gihaguan na nila, dapat sila na sila maila ato, di maghinangol.
Good day, ma'am. I am Wilmar Pitrano, and now I will discuss the aspect of agrarian reform. 1. Economic aspects. The position of agriculture in national economy. Although there are series of industrial programs from the government, still our economy relies heavily on the agriculture sector. It forms the predominant industry in the Philippines. Large proportion of the total working population is employed in the agriculture, and a large percentage contribution to to the gross domestic product or GDP from agriculture. Sociocultural aspect. A change from self-subsistence mindset to one or surplus for selling. The farmers started putting all their efforts in the farm because they own the land. The social order in the farmland started to improve significantly. The farmers became more concerned of the need to maintain peace and stability within the economy so that they could continuously enjoy the increased benefits in the farm. 3. Religious aspects. Based on the biblical teaching, God is the owner of the earth and that He made it all of His children, for His children. Food was not made for a few, all possess God-given right to use and enjoy the fruits of earth from the advancement of their lives. Aspect of agrarian reform, majority of the Filipino masses are lagging for the possession of land. Immersed in the change of property, they yearn for the ownership of land.
Hi. Land Reform Act of 1995, RA 1400, defining a land tenure policy providing for an instrumentally to carry out the policy of appropriating funds for the implementation. So, the main features of the RA 1400 are the following. Number 1 is reduction of large land holdings and consolidation of smaller and economic holdings into flats and adequate size. Number 2 is the settlement of tenants in areas of abundant land. Third, provision of adequate credit facilities for the small landholders.
This is my first topic of the report. Revised Agricultural Land Reform Code RA 6389. An act amending Republic Act 3844 as amended, otherwise known as the Agricultural Code and for other purposes. Upon pressure of tenant organization, demonstrators who picked it up for 84 days in front of legislative building, Congress passed further amendments to the code. The main features of the new amendments were: first is the abolition of personal cultivation and conversion to residential subdivision as grounds for the injectment of tenants. So kani gid siya nga kuan is para gini siya sa mga farmers, para bitaw nga silang pagkahiusa bitaw is mapatatagin ang pagkaisa ng mga farmers para kani isa po ni siya sa makataas sa social and economic structure sa agriculture productivity kani nga kuan, then which means makataas siya sa farm income, then to make the small farmers more independent, self-reliant and responsible citizens.
So now let's talk about the land covered by the code. Lands covered by the code. So number 1, tenanted areas. The areas worked by the tenant farmer either under the sharecropping or leasehold. So sinasabi sa number 1, according to the lands covered by the code, na ito daw yung area na or mao niyang area nga gitrabaho sa mga farmers or tenants nga nag-under sa sharecropping sa tag-iya sa yuta. So number 2, landed estates. Private agricultural lands acquired by the Department of Agrarian Reform through the Land Bank for redistribution to the tenant tailors both under the code. So ito daw yung private na agricultural lands ng Department of Agrarian Reform na na-acquire nila through the Land Bank for redistribution sa mga tenant na nag-under sa code na to. So number 3, old settlements. Old settlements projects developed by the Department of Agrarian Reform from the public domain and are still under its administration and management. Ito yung mga old na settlement projects o old na projects na dinevelop ng Department of Agrarian Reform na nandun pa rin sa administrasyon or management nila. So number 4, proposed settlements. The estimated areas of the public domain either earmarked for settlement purposes or have potentials for such purposes. So, proposed settlements daw. Ito yung mga estimated areas na sinettle for purpose or yung may mga potential para sa doon na purpose. So, yun ang lands covered by the code.
Topic is all about Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law of Republic Act No. 6657. It is an act instituting a comprehensive agrarian reform program to promote social justice and industrialization, providing the mechanism for its implementation and other purposes. So, noong Hulyo 10, 1988, ipinasa ang Republic Act No. 6657 na kilala rin bilang Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law or CARL. Ito ay ginawa upang itaguyod ang katarungan, panlipunan at industrialisasyon. Kilala ng CARL hindi lamang ang mga magsasaka, kundi ang lahat ng manggagawang walang lupang bilang benepisyaryo sa kondisyon na sasakahan nila ang lupa. So, basically ang CARL daw or ang Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law is wala na siya ang batas na sa CARP na Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Programs para magkaroon ng equality. So sila yung nagbibigay ng lupa sa mga magsasaka ng lupa sa mga kahit hindi magsasaka basta yung wala silang lupang sakahan. So sila rin yung nagpo-provide ng support sa mga magsasaka. And ito ay inaprubahan ni President Corazon Aquino on June 10, 1988.
The lands covered by CARL. 1. All alienable and disposable lands of the public domain devoted to or sustainable for agriculture. No reclassification of forest or mineral land to agriculture lands shall be undertaken after the approval of this act until Congress, taking into account ecological development and equality and consideration, shall have determined by law the specific limits of the public domain. 2. All lands of public domain in excess of the specific limits as determined by Congress in the preceding paragraph. 3. All other lands owned by the government devoted to or sustainable for agriculture. 4. All private lands devoted to or sustainable for agriculture regardless of the agriculture product raised of that can be raised therein.
So the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program extension with reforms. In other words, the RA 9700, an act of strengthening the Comprehensive Agrarian Reforms Program or the CARP, extending the acquisition of all agricultural lands, institutioning necessary reforms, amending the purpose certain provisions of RA 6657, otherwise known as the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law of 1988. So, CARPER is concerned with the land distribution among the farmers and it allows them to partake its fruit. So, Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program extension with reforms. So, it is a mandatory law nga it extend 5 more years. So, it emphasized in the CARPER nga the land should be distributed in the form of title. Kailangan na siya titulo. So, kanin siya nga yuta nga gihatag sa mga farmer beneficiary. Dili ni nila pwede mabaligya, pero pwede mana sila hang anak. Example, akong papa is na ay yuta. Tenant ako ang papa. So, ang pagka-tenant, pwede na ko na siya mamana. If qualified na ko nga tenant na jug ko, ang kaning akong pagka-tenant, pwede po na mamana sa akong anak. Then, hantun nga mapasa sa lain pa nga generation. So, in year 2009 to 2014, Carper distributed a total of 1 million hectares to 900,000 farmer beneficiaries. After 27 years in that two Aquino administration, 500,000 hectares ang wala pa na distribute. So until now, mo nag-fight sa mga Pilipino nga makuha na nila nga yuta ang land ownership.
So let us now talk about the pre-Spanish period. Kasi we're gonna talk about the history sa agrarian reform. So pre-Spanish period. This land is ours. God gave this land to us. Before the Spaniards came to the Philippines, Filipinos lived in villages or barangays ruled by chiefs or datos. The datos comprised the nobility. Then came the maharlikas, followed by the aliping na mamahay, and the aliping sa gigilid. However, despite the existence of different classes in social structure, practically everyone had access to the fruits of soil. Money was unknown that time, and rice served as the medium of exchange. So, before talaga dumating yung mga Spaniards, before paniabot ang mga Spaniards, the Filipinos were ruled by rahas or datos. So, regardless sa status nila, they share the fruits of their labor. So, naanay mga Pilipino before pa ang Spanish and ang pagsasaka is isa sa mga pangunahing ikinabubuhay ng mga ninuno natin. Actually, ang agrarian reform kay 100 years naman ata, 100 years ng wala pa gid nahuman or wala pa gid nahatagan og clear conclusions. So before pa niabot ang mga Hapon, Spaniards ug Amerikano, ang atong yuta kay para sa tanan na ipinagkaloob ng Dios na dapat ihatag sa tanang Pilipino. Mana ang tinhuan sa atong mga ninunong Pilipino nga sakto man siya kay kung sa man ganing gihatag sa Ginoo dapat para sa tanan, dili ikahangol. So before Jud wala pay kwarta nga ang paagi nila sa pagbayad kay mag-ilis kung unsa man gani, bali magbaylo sila. Ang ilang mga dala o unsa man gani ang nasa ilaha. Gitawag na siya og barter nga sa bugas. So ang bugas ang pinaka-importante sa munta natong tanan, no? Di ba? Mabusog balay tag walay luto. So ang nangyari noon kay palitan ng mga produkto nakay manok ilisag bugas, nakay kanding nila ilisag bugas kung sa kay mabaylo-baylo mo na ang pre-Spanish period.
Spanish period. When the Spaniards came to the Philippines, the concept of encomienda was introduced. This system grants that encomenderos must defend the encomienda from external attack, maintain peace and order within, and support the missionaries. In return, the encomendero acquired the right to collect a tribute from the Indus or the natives. So, ang encomienda ay isa itong sistema kung saan binigay ng hari ng Espanya sa mga Spanish conquerors na naging loyal sa kanya. Ang kasunduan nila is, which mapanatili nila yung maprotektahan nila ang hari ng Espanya. In return, bibigyan sila ng karapatan na mangolekta ng mga tax or tribute sa mga natives or Indios. So, mas malaki yung share ng mga enkomendero kaysa Spanish government o di kaya sa hari ng Spanya.
Philippine Republic. The first Philippine Republic. The yoke has finally broken. When the first Philippine Republic was established in 1899, General Emilio Aguinaldo declared in the Malolos Constitution his intention to confiscate large states, especially the so-called friar lands. However, as the republic was short-lived, Aguinaldo's plan was never implemented.
Good morning, ma'am. My name is Edson Sumalinog and I will discuss the topic of American period. So what is American period? The certain British colonized the North American that join together to form the original state of the United States. Kung sabot pasabot anang certain British colonized ang Britanya sa North America, nagsanib sila para makabuo og para makabuo sila og original na estado.
American period. Significant legislation enacted during the American period. Philippine Bill of 1902 set the ceiling on the heritage of private individuals and corporations. Mini acquire 16 has for private individuals and corporation may acquire 16 has for private individuals and 1024 has for corporation. Land Registration Act of 1902 Article number 496 provided for a comprehensive registration of land titles under the torrent system. American period. Public Land Article Act of 1903 introduced the homestead system in the Philippines. Tenancy Act of 1933, Article number 4054 and Article number 4113 regulated relationship between landowners and tenants, authorized 50-50 sharing sugar cane lands. The torrent system, which the American instituted for the registration of the land, did not solve the problem completely either. They were not aware of the law. If they could not pay the survey cost and other fees required when applying for the torrent title.
Commonwealth period or government for the Philippines. Habang ang mga Pilipinas ay binigyan ng panandaliang kalayaan ng mga Amerikano at itinatag ang 1935 Constitution, pamumuno ni President Manuel E. Quezon. May mga ginawang batas. So, number 1 is Rice Share Tenancy Act 1936. So, dito, 50-50 sila. 50% sa tenants and 50% for the landlords. So, sa madali ang salita, paghahati ay patas. Alawa, nagkaroon din ng regulation of 10% interest. Ang ibig sabihin nito ay ang mga tenants ay dapat din magbayad sa lupang ito at habang sila nagbabayad, may mga regulasyon ng 10% para sa kanilang pagbabayad. So, third is wala ring dapat na mga landlords na magdi-dismiss ng mga kanilang tenants. Ang pang-apat ay ang kontrata lamang ay 1 taon lamang. 1 taon lang ang kontrata.
Commonwealth period, National Rice and Corn Corporation NERIC 1936 established the price of rice and corn, thereby help the poor tenants as well as consumer. Himo ang presyo sa bugas o sa mais para ito ay nakakatulong sa mga mahihirap na nangungupahan pati na rin sa mga mamimili. Commonwealth Act number 461 1937 specified reasons for the dismissal of tenants and only with the approval of the tenancy divisions of Department of Justice.
So, next is the Japanese occupation, the era of Hukbalahap. The Second World War II started in Europe in 1939 and in the Pacific in 1941. So, Hukbalahap controlled the whole areas of Central Luzon. Landlords who supported the Japanese lost their lands to peasants, while those who supported the Hawks earned the fixed rentals in favor of the tenants. So, during the Japanese occupation in the Philippines, firstly is, ano nga ba ang purpose ng Japanese? Bakit sila pumunta sa Pilipinas? So, noong World War II daw, na pumunta sila sa Pilipinas para gumawa ng base so that maka-prepare sila to parang sugod sa mga Dutches. So, but nangadto man sila sa Lasang wherein daghan din mga farmers na kuha nilang mga yuta tungod sa mga Japanese. So the Philippine farmers or the peasants na nasuko sila o naghimo sila og large resistance consisting largely of peasants of farmers against the Japanese forces in Central Luzon. So, Hukbalahap daw is an anti-terrorist group. Ito daw yung nabuo ng mga farmers sa Central Luzon na nagrebelde para magkaroon ng kaayusan ang kanilang lupang sinasaka. It was founded by Luis Tarok and helped by President Marcos.
Afternoon, ma'am. My topic is all about Japanese period. Japanese occupation, unfortunately, the end of war also signaled the end of gains acquired by the peasant. Upon the arrival of Japanese in the Philippines in 1942, peasant and workers organization grew strength. Many peasants took up arms and identified themselves with the anti-Japanese group, the Hukbalahap or Hukbo ng Bayan laban sa Hapon. So, sa pagsakop ng mga Hapon dito sa ating bansa, gumawa ng grupo ang mga Pilipino para mapigilan ang pananakop ng mga Hapones. Ang pangalan ng grupong ito ay ang Hukbalahap. Ang Hukbalahap ay pinagsamang sundalo, pulis at mga sibilyan na lalaki. Dahil sa kanila, nabigyan ng kalayaan ng Pilipinas. At dahil sa pagtulong na rin sa Amerika na pinangunahan ni General Douglas MacArthur.
President Manuel A. Rojas, so 1946 to 1948. Republic naay duha ka Republic Act nga nakuan si President Manuel A. Rojas. So the first is the Republic Act number 34, also known as the Philippine Share Tenancy Act. So ang pasabot ani kay ang landlord or ang tag-iya di lang kayuta ang ihatag sa tenants or farmers kundi pati na po ang ilang mga ipangtanom, like for example ang lubi. So pag magkupras na apoy makuha ang farmer sa ato, so I think 70-30 siguro ang share. In short, sure sila sa halin. dili kay ihatag lang sa tagiya sa yuta, di porket tenants lang siya. So muna ang Republic Act number 34. So ikaduha is Republic Act number 55, provided for a more effective safeguard against arbitrary ejectment of tenants or the tenancy law. So kani nga law ang mo-protect sa mga tenants or farmers nga dili basta-basta mapahawa sa yuta sa tagiya o sa pananglit ibaligya na ang yuta, so maguna ang tagiya sa yuta. So kani nga law ang mag-protect sa mga farmers ani nga yuta. Kay syempre di naman pwede nga pahawaon sila samot nga gihaguan nila to sa former nga tagiya pa, di ba? Mo ni siya ang Republic Act Republic Act number 55 ni President Manuel A. Rojas.
The last topic is all about Elpidio Quirino. So, Elpidio Quirino enacted the following law. Executive Order number 335 issued on October 23, 1950. Replaced the National Land Settlement Administration and Development Corporation, which takes over the responsibilities of agricultural machinery equipment corporation and the rice and the corn production administration. So Elpidio Quirino daw siya daw yung nagpatibay sa Executive Order number 335, wherein creating Land Settlement and Development Corporation and dissolving the National Land Settlement Administration and the Rice and Corn Production Administration and the Machinery and Equipment Department of the National Development Company. So, ano nga ba yung LASIDECO? At ano yung purpose niya para sa mga mamamayan or farmers? So, yung LASIDECO daw is siya daw yung nag-take ng responsibility sa mga agricultural machinery. So, and equipments para sa mga magsasaka. Example of it is yung mga seedlings, yung mga tractors, yung mga makabagong makinarya ng ngayon na ginagamit. So yung LASIDECO raw yung mag-take responsibility para ibigay o para ibigay sa mga magsasaka.
Is my second topic, all about President Ramon Magsaysay in 1953 to 1957. Republic Act number 1160 of 1954 abolished the LASIDECO and established the National Resettlement and Rehabilitation Administration, or NARA, to resettle resident and landless farmers. It was particularly aimed at rural returns, providing homelands and farmlands in Palawan and Mindanao. So, sa act na ito ay siya ang nagbibigay ng supply at farmlands or pagtataniman ng mga farmers dito sa Palawan at sa Mindanao. In Republic Act number 1199, the Agricultural Tenancy Act of 1954 governed the relation between landowners and tenant farmers by organizing shared tenancy and leasehold system. The law provides the security of tenants. It also created the Court of Agrarian Relations. So, in this act, in 1199, the agricultural tenancy, ito ang act na kapakipakinabang sa relasyon between sa landowners and tenant farmers. Siya ang organize of the shared tenancy and leasehold system. When we say tenancy, in other words, ito ay pangungupahan or sa Bisaya ang pag-abang. Ang leasehold naman, ito ang upa sa salitang Tagalog. At sa Bisaya naman, ito ay renta. This law provide the security of tenure of tenant. Itong law na ito ang nagbibigay seguridad sa panunungkulan sa nangungupahan. Ang act na ito ang gumagawa ng Court of Agrarian Relations.
This is my second report about the policy of President Carlos P. Garcia in 1957 to 1961. Continue the program of President Ramon Magsaysay, number new delegation passed. The policy of Garcia was a response to the impact of free trade and American economic dominance in the Philippines from years following the World War II. Ang patakaran ni Garcia ay tugon sa epekto ng malayang kalakayan at ekonomiya ng Amerikano.
My second topic of the report, President Ferdinand E. Marcos in 1965 to 1986. Proclamation number 1081 on September 21, 1972 assured the period of the new society. 5 days after the proclamation of the martial law, the entire country was proclaimed a land reform area, and simultaneously the Agrarian reform program was decreed. So, pag-proclaim ni President Marcos sa martial law, after 5 days, naada yun na buo na new na period of the new society. Under that, the entire country was proclaimed a land reform. Then ang Agrarian reform was decreed. So, napatuman ang Agrarian reform man that time. Then, Republic Act number 6389, Code of Agrarian Reform and RA number 6390 of 1971 created the Department of Agrarian Reform of the Agrarian Reform Special Account Fund and strengthened the position of farmers, then expanded the scope of the Agrarian Reform. The next is the Presidential Decree number 2, September 26, 1972, declared the country under land reform program, and it enjoined all agencies and offices of the government to extend full cooperation and assistance to the DER. It also activated the Agrarian Reform According Council. So kaning Presidential Decree number 2 about sa agricultural development of the country na free ang mga small farmers sa mga harmful and damaging na mga practices na naka-affect sa farmers, then nakaproduce ni siya og widespread discontentment sa unrest sa mga farmers. So the next is the Presidential Decree number 27, October 21, 1972. Land reform scope to tenanted rice, corn lands and set the retention limit at 7 hectares. So kani nga presidential decree is dako gini siya natabang sa mga farmers kay pati na sa agricultural economy kay itagaan sila og limit nga 7 hectares. So ang 7 hectares guys, dako na gyud na siya nga yuta. Oo, dako na gyud ang 3 hectares samot nag 7.
President Corazon C. Aquino, 1986-1992. The Constitution ratified by the Filipino people during the administration of President Corazon C. Aquino provide in their section 21 under Article 2 that the state shall promote comprehensive rural development and agrarian reform. On June 10, 1988, former President Corazon C. Aquino signed into law Public Act number 6657 or otherwise known as the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law CERL. The law became effective on June 15, 1988. Subsequently, 4 presidential residences were released in July 1987 after 88 nationwide resolutions before the actual law was enacted. President Corazon C. Aquino enacted the following laws. Executive Order Number 228, July 16, 1987 declared for ownership to qualify farmer beneficiaries covered by PB 27. It also determines the value of a mine in value, rice and corn land subject of PB 27 and provided for the manner of payment by the FBS and mode of compensation of non-owners. Executive Order Number 59, July 22, 1987, providing information for the implementation of the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program CER Proclamation Number 131, July 22, 1987. Instituted CERP as a major program of the government. It provided for a special fund known as the Agrarian Reform Fund ERF with an initial amount of 50 million to cover the estimated cost of the program from 1987-1992. Executive Order Number 129 July 26, 1987 streamlined and expanded the power and its operations of the DER Republic Act Number 6657 June 1987 Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law and an act which became effective June 15, 1988 and instituted a comprehensive agrarian reform program to promote social justice and industrialization, providing the mechanism for its implementation and for other purposes. This law is still the one being implemented at present. Executive Order Number 405 June 14, 1990 vested in the Land Bank of the Philippines the responsibility to determine land of valuation and compensations for all lands covered by CERP. Executive Order Number 407 June 14, 1990 accelerated the association and distribution of agricultural land, pasture lands, fish ponds, agroforestry lands, and other lands of the public domain suitable for agriculture.
President Fidel V. Ramos, 1992 to 1998, when President Fidel V. Ramos formally took over in 1992, his administration came face to face with publics who have lost confidence in the agrarian reform program. His administration committed to the vision, fairer, faster, and more meaningful implementation of the agrarian reform program. President Fidel V. Ramos enacted the following laws: Republic Act number 78981 1995 amended certain provision of Article 6657 and exempted fish pan and prawns from the coverage of carp. Republic Act number 7905 1995 strengthened the implementation of the carp. Executive Order number 363/1997 limits the type of lands that may be coveted by sitting condition, under which limits the type of lands that may be converted by sitting condition under which specific categories of agricultural land are there absolutely non-negotiable for conversion or highly restricted for conversion.
President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo noong 2000 to 2010. The Agrarian Reform Program under the Arroyo administration is anchored on the vision to make the countryside economically viable for the Filipino family by building partnership and promoting social equity and new economic opportunities toward lasting peace and sustainable rural development. Land tenure improvement. DAR. What is DAR? So, DAR is the Department of Agrarian Reform. So, ano bang ibig sabihin ng DAR? DAR. Ang DAR ay pinakasandalan ng mga tao para nais magkaroon ng pagbabago at pag-unlad pagdating sa mga usapin ng mga lupa. So, yun ang DAR. Provision of Support Services. The Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program or CARP. Ang CARP ay hindi sila involved sa mga distribution sa mga lupa, pero sumuporta sila sa mga serbisyo katulad ng credit assistance, extension services, irrigation facilities, roads and bridges, marketing facilities, and training and technical support programs, infrastructure projects. Tutulong sila sa mga paggawa ng mga trabaho para sa mga countryside. Another is Kalahi Arc Zone. The Kalahi Agrarian Reform or Arc Zone were also launched. Yes, these zones consist of one or more municipalities with concentration of arc population to achieve greater agro-productivity. Another one is the agrarian justice. So, agrarian justice is to help clear the backlog of agrarian cases. But there will be respect the rights of both farmers and landowners. President Benigno Aquino III vowed during his 2012 State of the Nation address that he would complete before the end of his term the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Program or CARP. So, the centerpiece program of his administration is his mother, President Corazon Aquino. Under his administration, the Agrarian Reform, Community Connectivity and Economic Support Services or RCCESS project was created that contribute to the overall goal of rural poverty reduction, especially in agrarian reform areas. Another is the Agrarian Production Credit Program or APCP. APCP provide credit support for crop production to newly organized and existing agrarian reform beneficiaries. And also the last is the legal case monitoring system or LCMS. So dito, web-based legal system for recording and monitoring various kinds of agrarian cases. So that's all. Thank you.
Under his leadership, the President wants to pursue an aggressive land reform program that would help alleviate the life of poor Filipino farmers by prioritizing the provision of support services alongside land distribution. So the President directed the DAR to launch the second phase of agrarian reform where landless farmers would be awarded with undistributed lands under the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform or the CARP. Ang Administrasyong Duterte ay tagapamahala ng isang programa sa agrarian reform na may ilang mga pagkukulang. Bagamat isa itong katotohanan na 4.8 million na ektarya ng lupain pang-agrikultura ang naipamahagi sa 2.7 million ARB. Kulang pa rin ang sapat na serbisyo sa suporta ng mga ARB kung bakit nakikisali ang mga ARB sa mga illegal transaction sa pagbibenta ng o pag-upa. So President Duterte reactivated the PARC in September 12, 2016. The PARC immediately revoked stock distribution option plans and agribusiness venture agreements, which ran counter to the provisions of Agrarian Reform Law. So the President mandated the DANR to parcelize and collective clause and provide funding for this parcelization through the use of government and international funding facilities. The President also directed the DANR to complete the LAD process by 2022.